I'm Dr. Serene Reep, founder of serenasays.com and the president of Transformational Communications. My book, Work-Life Balance is Dead, has been in the making for a very long time. But what's interesting is that only recently I discovered that the roots of my book and my message were deeply buried in my past. A very, very painful past. But like so many of us, I was living in the present. Just my day-to-day living consisted of reacting to whatever was being thrown at me without any awareness of how deeply my actions were connected to my past. One of my colleagues who was reviewing my book chapters asked me this inevitable question that every author gets asked. He said, "Why did you write this book? What was the driving force behind it?" I had to stop and think. I had to really dig really deep into my soul, searching and searching for what was the motivating factor, even though I kind of knew intellectually, but emotionally I didn't. So I had to really find the answer for myself first before I give him the answer. I remember a day when I was 10 years old. I was walking home from the school bus stop in the afternoon. I was very tired. It was a very hot April afternoon, and I was walking home, step at a time. And the closer I got to the house, the voices became louder and louder from inside the house. All of a sudden, I just stopped dead in my tracks. My book bag from my shoulders fell down on the floor. I started thinking, oh no, not again. My parents were fighting again. I could hear my mother crying and yelling and screaming. And my father, his voice was strong and defiant and adamant. I knew what was going on. I just did not want to go in. I absolutely did not want to go in. I felt so sad, so helpless, so alone, so really, really, really down. You see, my parents were fighting about my aunt, my mother's younger sister. Rumor was that my father was having an affair with her. You see, my aunt and her little daughter, who was a little older than I was, came to live with us at that time, after her husband had just passed away. So once they both came into our house, nothing was ever the same again. My whole world turned upside down, and my mother's world turned upside down. Nothing would ever be the same in our family. It was constant fighting, constant yelling and screaming and crying, something that a 10-year-old couldn't comprehend. So the school became a safe haven for me. I could run away to school, leave, at least temporarily, the burden of this terrible family secret that practically took permanent residence on my shoulders. When I was in school, I could forget the sadness, the anxiety, the hurt feeling, the confusion, and all that went with it. Even at that young age, I knew, somehow I knew, that I had to find a way to stop that vicious cycle of what was happening to my mother from engulfing my life. I was determined to not let my mother's fate suck me in. You see, my mother wasn't very smart. My mother wasn't educated. My mother wasn't street savvy. She wasn't great looking. And she depended on my father for everything, not just food, clothing, and shelter, but everything, including her identity. thought, if I could be smart enough, if I were bright enough, if I were pretty enough, if I were educated enough, and if I had a job that was powerful, prestigious, nobody was going to reject me or devalue me like my mother was. They'd be proud of me. They would want to be around me. They wouldn't deny me. They wouldn't walk away from me. So, school became my answer, became my salvation, my ticket out of my mother's fate. So I grew up really fast. I had to be the adult. Even at that very young age, I had to learn to hide the terrible family secret from everybody else. From my schoolmates, from my friends, from neighbors, from anybody we knew, relatives, and so on. I had to pretend like everything was normal. But you know, like they say, the best laid plans. Schools didn't provide me the salvation, the ticket out that I was looking for. Instead, it created more challenges for me. You see, this was a private school, and all the kids were from, well, most of the kids were from upper middle class families, and their daily concerns were, you know, what kind of clothes to wear, what kind of jewelry is the latest fashions, or what kind of movies they went to after school with their parents, what kind of fun stuff that they did on weekends. This is the kind of things that they were interested in. And I had nothing to contribute to any of that conversation for my parents, just coming up with the money to pay the tuition. Month after month after month was an incredibly big challenge. And as if that wasn't enough, my desire to do the best in school and be the best in my class also alienated me from other kids, as you can very well imagine. I was too nerdy. I was too serious. I was too intense for them to want to be friends with me. So they poked fun at me instead. Oh my goodness, I used to cry a lot, silently of course, and pray to God to help me find a way. And I said, why me? Why wasn't my family like normal, like everybody else's family? I was really lost. I was hopelessly lost. I had no one to talk to. My family secret was too personal, too shameful to share. I had to carry that burden all by myself on my own little shoulders. Quickly, I had to learn to live without others' approval. I had to stand on my own 2 feet, make my own judgments, and accept the consequences. Good or bad, it didn't matter. I was the only one who was responsible. Little did I know at that time that God was actually providing me a way out, that He was holding my hand, and that He was walking me through that fog that I couldn't see through. But from that pain, from that loneliness, I learned a lot of lessons. Those lessons shaped my life, shaped who I am and what I represent today. Because I didn't accept anything, I mean anything, as given. I had to define the world for myself, on my own terms. I couldn't blindly accept anybody's definition of what I should believe in, what I should accept, either as my fate or anybody else's. I got my first taste, tiny little taste, of being authentic, being true to myself, and build a world, my world, around me and around those principles that I was just beginning to learn. It would have been so much easier if I could just fit in, if I could just give in and accept whatever my fate was, whatever the world gave me, the way my mother did. Who was I to challenge the social norms? How dare I think of living outside these guidelines? So today, when you are struggling with the problems of balancing your work and your life, and trying to sift through your priorities and live a life that is meaningful to you, and you're trying to reconcile what others want of you and what you want for yourself, remember my struggle. Remember my pain. It's not going to be easy, I grant you that. But here is the thing. I had no choice but to embrace who I am, to embrace my purpose in life. Now you can say, well, of course I did have a choice. I could have been like my mother, but I had already ruled that out. So my choice was really only to get strong, be strong, believe, and keep moving one step at a time out of this mess that I didn't create, but I had to move out of because I knew I couldn't live there. So I offer you the same thing. You are at the crossroads of your life. You have the choice to live in the fullness of your dreams, your own being, your own authentic self, or allow others to define you. You know, I'm reminded of a poem by Robert Frost, Road Not Taken. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere, ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. What will you choose? Where will you go to find the greatness that lies within you? I offer you my hand in partnership. Come with me. The dawn is about to break. Let us start a journey together. Not just to break the mythical walls between work and life, but muster the strength to live an authentic and purposeful life, unapologetically and uncompromisingly. Come, let's join hands